One Saturday morning, two hearses left the forensic center of the General Prosecutor's office in Mexico City. No honor guard, no public ceremony at all, just two vehicles from the J. Garcia Lopez funeral home rolling quietly within a convoy of trucks. Inside were the remains of Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes, the man who for over a decade was the world's most wanted drug trafficker. The one who built the continent's most violent cartel, the one the U.S. government hunted for years with a $15 million bounty on his head. That man was now returning to his family in sealed bags, labeled with the official name Rubén N. This marks the end of a story that began in the mud of Michoacán poverty and ended in a luxury cabin in the Jalisco mountains. To grasp the weight of what happened on Saturday, February 28, 2026, we need to go back to the start. Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes was born on July 17, 1966, in Naranjo de Chile, a small hamlet in the Aguililla municipality of Michoacán. Son of farm workers, he moved young to California, where he spent the years that shaped his grit. He returned to Mexico with different goals. He became a municipal cop in Tomatlan, Jalisco. He carried a badge, wore the uniform. But that straight life didn't last long. Late in the 90s, Oseguera Cervantes took the step that defined his path. He joined the Cartel del Milenio, the group then controlling parts of Jalisco and Michoacán. There he learned the trade up close. Learned to move, to hide, to build networks of loyalty and corruption, to take out rivals without blinking. He climbed fast in the criminal ranks, exactly because he knew the state systems he had to fight. He was a cop who became his own worst institutional foe. When the Cartel del Milenio started cracking in the early 2000s, Oseguera Cervantes was among those who built something fresh. In 2010, he founded what became the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the CJNG. With a deliberately modern and official-sounding name, the group grew at a speed that stunned even top intelligence experts. It wasn't just a bunch of narcos. It was a crime business with slick logistics, spread-out finances, recruits from jobless youth, and a brutality that shattered all known limits. In just 15 years, the CJNG under the Mencho went from a Jalisco outfit to active in over 25 of Mexico's 32 states and confirmed cells in more than 40 countries. It specialized in synthetic drugs, fentanyl and meth, cheap to make with insane profit margins that funded an unmatched war machine. The CJNG became the top fentanyl supplier to the U.S. market, right during that country's worst opioid crisis in modern times. Tens of thousands of lives lost in U.S. cities bore somewhere the unseen mark of Nemesio Oseguera. The CJNG violence wasn't just practical, it was deliberately flashy, designed to spread fear. Bodies hung from bridges on main avenues, massacres filmed and shared on social media. Weaponized drones loaded with explosives sent at rivals and army bases. Homemade armored narco tanks built in secret workshops from steel plates. Rocket launchers able to down military helicopters, as shown in 2015, all aimed at one goal: terror as a tool for territory control, a message to enemies and a shield against the state. And at the heart of that power machine, hidden, almost mythical from lack of public photos, was him, the Mencho. For over 10 years, Mexico and U.S. security forces tried and failed to catch Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. In August 2012, rumors spread he was nabbed in Zapopan, Jalisco. The CJNG unleashed narco-blockades across Guadalajara's metro area. Authorities denied the arrest; it was fake. In May 2015, during an op in Villa Purificación, the cartel hit back by downing an army helicopter with a rocket launcher, killing 9 soldiers. It was a raw signal of what challenging them meant. Years followed of failed tries, false leads, ops that arrived too late. The man stayed unseen, switching spots constantly, trusting few, living in a security bubble built to keep him untouchable. Everything shifted early in 2026. Mexican military intelligence, tight with U.S. agencies, began tracking a key player in the Capo's protection ring, a trusted guy tied to one of Oseguera Cervantes' romantic partners. It was a thin, almost invisible thread, but real. Analysts at the National Intelligence Center followed it methodically for weeks, cross-checking data, confirming patterns, waiting for the right moment. On February 20, that man drove the partner to a spot in Tapalpa, Jalisco. A cabin inside Tapalpa Country Club, an upscale residential area in the state's highlands, known for wooded trails and natural seclusion. Surveillance cams and monitoring gear confirmed what analysts expected. Nemesio Oseguera was there, in cabin number 39. The partner met him inside and left on February 21. The capo stayed, the forces knew, and this time they wouldn't miss. That afternoon of the 21st, military Y leaders planned the ops. Mexican Army Special Forces, Guardia Nacional's Rapid Reaction Unit, Air Force aircraft, National Intelligence Center, and General Prosecutor's Office staff aligned for action without tipping off cartel spotters in the area. 6 military choppers were quietly positioned in states near Jalisco. In the hours before the raid, it had to be precise. No leaks, no room for slip-ups. In the early hours of Sunday, February 22, 2026, Special Forces moved on foot to the complex, silent, coordinated with minimal air support to avoid waking cartel lookouts posted nearby. Once the net was set, they stormed the site. The response hit instant and fierce. Mencho's security circle opened fire with heavy weapons. The first clash was brutal. 8 cartel members dropped there. Troops secured the perimeter, but Oseguera Cervantes wasn't in the main building. He had slipped into the surrounding woods with a small band of heavily armed escorts. A special team pursued right away. The chase pushed into the forest, rough terrain, pitch black, no clear sightlines. There came the second clash, the decisive one. The capo's guards unleashed war-grade arms, rockets that struck one of the Air Force helos, forcing an emergency landing at a base in Sayula, Jalisco. Military pressure didn't let up. The noose tightened until they pinned the fugitives in the underbrush. In the end, the Mencho was critically wounded along with 2 escorts, 2 other thugs captured. Mexico's most wanted lay on the ground. Military medics on site assessed Nemesio Oseguera immediately, grave, critical condition. Doctors ruled he needed urgent specialist care. They chose air evac to Mexico City, bypassing Guadalajara to block any cartel rescue or meddling in a city with deep CJNG reach. The air convoy flew from Jalisco to Morelia, Michoacan, then a Casa Air Force plane took him to the capital. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes didn't arrive alive. He died en route from combat wounds. The National Defense Secretariat confirmed it that Sunday, February 22, via official statement. The country's top target was down. That day they also took out Hugo Gonzalez, alias El Chile, the capo's main logistics and finance operator, his most trusted field guy who had offered up to 20,000 pesos to his gunmen per soldier they killed. The body reached Mexico City in a heavily guarded convoy by Guardia Nacional troops. It went to the Federal Center for Forensic Evaluation and Management of the General Prosecutor's Office, known as FVMDO. Their protocol procedures kicked off. The FGR did a full autopsy and ordered DNA tests to confirm the deceased's ID beyond doubt. This series is one of the other minusquilos of the befores, that we can't deliver, and congratulando the expectations. These times it's that call of what gets that solution, it's the perfect against his friends. On Monday, February 23, the institution publicly confirmed the ID was scientifically verified. The body held there was, no doubt, Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes. At the Tapalpa Country Club cabin, experts found more than guns and armored vehicles. They uncovered internal docs, financial records, handwritten and computer lists detailing CJNG's economic ops in various Jalisco municipalities, weekly payments to hitmen, spotters, extortionists, and alleged bribes to municipal cops, state police, and other security forces. The CJNG narco payroll was later published by El Universal newspaper, sparking a fresh national shockwave. Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch confirmed the FGR would probe the docs with proper chain of custody, noting no politicians named yet in those inquiries, but active cases against police corps members. The lists exposed the industrial-scale corruption that kept the Mencho hidden so long. From the first hours of Sunday, February 22, Mexican authorities activated full contingency protocols. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro declared red code statewide, halting public transit in several areas and canceling big events, including a Guadalajara concert. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico issued 3 security alert updates, urging citizens and diplomats to stay indoors. The Army deployed 2,500 extra troops in Jalisco and neighboring states to contain cartel backlash. Security and Citizen Protection Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch was the federal government's key voice in those tense hours and days after. In the Monday, February 23 morning presser, Harfuch confirmed casualty figures. 25 Guardia Nacional dead in cartel attacks. 30 CJNG members killed in post-op clashes. Around 70 detained over narco-blockades in Jalisco, Michoacán, and other states. He called the cartel attacks cowardly hits on personnel just doing their duty. Days later, Sedena head General Ricardo Trevilla updated federal losses to 28, 3 Army soldiers in the direct op, plus 25 Guardia Nacional in follow-up cartel strikes, the highest single-day toll for federal forces in REC. And Mexican history. President Claudia Sheinbaum defended the op as purely Mexican in planning, command, and execution, acknowledging U.S. complementary intel under bilateral cooperation. Washington chimed in fast. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt issued a statement congratulating Mexican forces. State Department Undersecretary Christopher Landau called it a major step for both nations. President Donald Trump publicly claimed partial credit, sparking a brief but noticeable diplomatic friction over who gets the win. Harfuch, in later pressers from Mazatlan, Sinaloa, revealed federals had ID'd 4 potential Mencho successors in the CJNG structure. 2 especially dangerous for their ops roles and regional leadership. He withheld names to protect active probes, but confirmed all under constant watch. He added the CJNG was weakened by losing its founder but retained ops in multiple states, with allied groups active and monitored. In the days post-op, Nemesio Oseguera's body stayed secured at FGR facilities in Mexico City. On Wednesday, February 25, the institution reported receiving a filing from someone claiming to represent the Capo's family, formally requesting the remains. The Petropavel, his hope of each of the Capo's stars, did not treat to beat the Paleanta Vaporala buried, investigated and terracinientement farewell. This would be the only shame of the series of the Kappa of the Capo's stars. Did not treat attention of the 23 mortals. The FGRE then began the corresponding protocol procedures. Confirmation of legal ties to the deceased via genetic tests to certify blood relation between the claimant and the body. It wasn't simple or rushable. The forensic body's identity carried too much historic weight to hand over without absolute verification. On Saturday, February 28, 2026, 6 days after the Tapalpa op, the General Prosecutor's Office issued a short, direct official statement. Procedures complete. Genetic tests confirmed blood ties between requester and body. At 3 p.m., 2 J. Garcia Lopez funeral trucks entered the FGR Forensic Center. Soon after, both hearses exited without fanfare, no official escort, blended into a low-key civilian truck convoy, carrying Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes' remains to his kin. No public destination, the FGR statement named only Rubén. The protocol deliberately erased the alias, erased the criminal, restored the right, like any deceased citizen, to family burial without the state turning that private act into political theater or public celebration. But while family claimed the body quietly, the country kept digesting the heaviest blow to organized crime in years. The Mencho's death shook Mexico's criminal power map like nothing since Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's capture. 16 of 32 states saw streets gridlocked by narco-blockades in hours after the Tapalpa op. Jalisco, Michoacán, Colima, Guanajuato, Nayarit, Aguascalientes, Tamaulipas, Baja California, Guerrero, and Quintana Roo felt the quake of a cartel for the first time headless of its founder. Burned vehicles, looted stores, blocked federal highways, a boy with severe burns in Jalisco, a civilian woman killed. The rawest picture of what it means for a cartel that size to take a hit to its command corps. The CJNG endures. What's left after losing its founder and historic leader is an outfit in fast reshuffle, closely watched by Mexican and U.S. authorities, internally fought by regional factions with 4 potential successors under active probe, and the open question of whether it holds together or splinters into smaller, potentially more violent and erratic groups. History with other beheaded cartels points to fragmentation as the likeliest short-term path. A founding leader's fall doesn't kill the org, sometimes it just splits and scatters it. What is nailed down, sealed that February 28, as the hearses slipped quietly from the FGR Forensic Center. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes is gone. The man who for 30 years built, led, and embodied one of the America's most savage modern criminal machines ended his tale in a cold Jalisco mountain forest. They found him because he trusted the wrong person. They reached him because military intel outlasted his paranoia. They beat him because no personal security beats a determined state's full might. Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch and Mexican armed forces did what no prior government could: take down the world's most dangerous trafficker. That historic win carries huge real cost: 28 Mexican state servants dead. Men and women in uniform with families waiting home. The country owes them a debt unpaid by headlines or press releases. A debt settled with results, justice, and a state pressing on that path. That's the Mencho's true end. No ballad, no statue, no street legend that sprouts when a capo falls, but two hearses rolling silent one Saturday morning to know where the state needs to track. And a country that, for the first time in a long while, can say a reign of terror reached its close.
Yeah,